Here is the last segment of the show. This has been requested by one of my fraternity brothers in the comment section of my previous video for the Real Talk. And I thought it was a good enough topic to actually discuss it for the victory formation, where we go a little bit more in depth. So the question is, with racial tension going on in America, should the NCAA worry about more top black student athletes attending HBCUs? Now, this is an interesting question. Now, if the HBCU, so here's the problem with the HBCUs, right? So as of right now, the NCAA has nothing to worry about because HBCUs are, underfunded like crazy. So they really can't compete when it comes to recruiting or providing facilities and a stadium to play in for these athletes. I think, again, since they're underfunded, they are working at a complete disadvantage to compete for top talent. And when you don't have I'm reading it here. So if you don't have top talent, you don't have TV deals, like big TV deals. You might have TV deals, but you won't have big TV deals. With no top talent, there's no March Madness because your team's not good enough. March Madness, you're talking about, there might be schools that make it because they have good chemistry or players that's been there for 3-4 years, good chemistry and stuff like that. But top talent is what, if you get one guy that's top elite, he could get you to March Madness. So no top talent, no March Madness. No TV deals and no March Madness means there's less merchandise sales. So you can see how this funnel goes, right? Again, top talent does so much for the NCAA, and they realize that. That's why whenever there's a threat to getting top talent taken away from the NCAA, they are forced to adjust because the NCAA schools, the NCAA don't make, these TV contracts. The players that they get make the NCAA is what, makes the NCAA what it is. It makes D1 what it is. If all these D1 talented players went to D3, then D3 would be where it's at. It just depends on where this top talent goes. So in order for HBCUs to compete with these D1 schools, they need to find a way, or the government, and this has been a lot of talk with politics, especially within the Democratic Party. Again, I'm not trying to get too involved into politics, but funding HBCUs, especially in a time like this, where again incidences like where George Floyd have brought awareness to racial inequality, and it sickens me that it takes someone to get killed unjustly by police for using a $20 bill to bring attention to HBCUs being underfunded. But that is exactly the case that's happening, and at this point, you have to take advantages of these situations to try to bring some equality. HBCUs, if they were able to get funded, if they had enough funding, they would be able to compete with the NCAA or with, for example, D1 schools for top talent. Because a lot of these guys come from these same areas where these HBCUs are at. And, again, due to the current environment, players are starting to look at the inequalities and see that they hold power. So when it comes to basketball, for example, if the player has no intention of graduating and plans on being a one and done, what is going to hurt them from going to a small school? I mean, you see John Morant, he played 2 years and he ended up being the second overall pick. But if Zion Williamson went to Alcorn State, he would have still been that guy. It's one of those things where, again, the players are starting to see, especially the black players, are starting to see the inequities, seeing how much power they hold. And, they might be more socially conscious to be like, you know what, I could be that change into, providing more to the HBCUs and to my community, the community that I come from. And some of the positives for players going to HBCUs, obviously there's an opportunity to be a legend at the school. Zion Williamson went to he's a legend at Duke and he only played 1 year, but if he went to like a HBCU, he would be like a legend on legend wherever he went. So that would be one thing. Again, top talent. HBCUs are not seeing these top talented players go there. Again, it has a lot to do with the money. And, that money has to deal with, how much money is getting passed to the players to go to a certain school. HBCUs can't compete if, certain schools are paying $100,000 under the table as a signing bonus to sign with the school, sign a letter of intent. And then another positive is, again, I talked about it, not going to really hurt your draft value. Again, if you're a top athlete going to a HBCU, for the most part, the high school rankings they hold a lot of weight. And even if Zion Williamson didn't play at all at Duke, he would have been the number 1 overall pick just because he's box office. And the dude is so athletically gifted and a physical freak that he would have been like the number 1 overall pick, even if he did not play. So if he played at a level of lower competition and dominated, it wouldn't have hurt his draft stock. And he still would have had the same endorsement deals. He would have had the same contract. He would have had all that same stuff except for the money that was given to him to go to Duke, allegedly. So let's just put that into perspective. So for this to work, HBCUs will need to find a way to pull football and basketball talent from D1 schools. And the reason why I'm saying football and basketball is because those are the two money-making sports in college athletics. A lot of these schools, a lot of their basketball and football program determine how much money they make, and if they're operating at a deficit or operating, and actually making a profit, in their sporting department. And there's only a few schools now that are actually running and making a profit. I believe it's like Texas A&M, Alabama might be another one. There's only a few schools, a handful of schools that are able to do it. It just shows you how much money it costs to actually run sports, like all the sports. And football and basketball is what brings most money to the college athletics. So HBCUs would have to find a way to pull those talented players from the D1 schools to play at HBCUs, and they have to be well-known players too. And then the roadblock. So one of the roadblocks that the HBCUs will have to run into is the NCAA. So the NCAA, again, when you're threatening to capture some of their top talent to where the NCAA capitalizes on these guys to make money, the NCAA right now, there's been a report that the NCAA is actually considering eliminating eligibility for transfers. So, for example, if an HBCU gets an athlete that's, top 100 coming out of high school, and, they weren't, highly recruited. Let's just say that they weren't highly recruited. And they decide to go back to college for a second year. They're likely to transfer out of there to go to a higher, a place with higher competition. Because you know why? Because NBA teams are going to contact these kids and say, hey, look, we like you. We definitely want to draft you. But I think, you'll grow on our list if you go to a D1 school where you're facing better competition. We want to see you against better competition. And again, these are for guys that are like on the line, on the cusp of being, potential NFL players or NBA players. It's this type of ruling where the NCAA is considering immediate eligibility for transfers. That is a threat to the HBCUs as well. So there's a lot of things to think about. I think if the HBCUs were funded correctly and, had a bankroll like the D1 schools, then yes, there would be something to worry about with the NCAA. But as of right now, the NCAA has nothing to worry about with HBCUs, just because the NCAA pretty much runs things and they could change the rules however they want to make sure that the HBCUs don't see any of those players that are going to take, money away from their big sporting events. Thanks for stopping by. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button for more fire sports takes. And for those of you who are on the go, make sure you subscribe to our full show, which airs every Thursday on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and a bunch more. Until then, I'm chucking it up, and I'll see you guys next time.